What's up, everybody? On the review garage table today, we're comparing the Warrior 3S and the new Warrior Ultra. And we're going to answer two questions that everyone seems to be asking. Is the Warrior Ultra worth the additional cost over the Warrior 3S? And if you already own the Warrior 3S, is it worth upgrading to the Warrior Ultra? All right, so jumping right into our video, you'll see these two side by side. They're going to look really similar. They're going to look more similar in ways than they look different. Same size, roughly identical weights, same interface. You have your side switch, your tail switch, magnetic charging, same battery. These two lights are very, very similar. A good way to kind of look at, we'll kind of go through some of the differences, but a good way to think about the Warrior Ultra is just kind of the more premium version of the Warrior 3S. We'll see our modes. Again, they're going to be controlled the exact same. You got your indicator on we got your battery input indicator on the right side on both lights if we push them here, and then your output level on the left. So that's all going to be the same. Your modes are all going to be the same too. If we hold this down, put these both into low here. Here's our low output. So we got low, we hold it down. We got medium, hold it down again. We get high. We double click for our turbo. So you see same modes. We can hold down our switches here to engage our moonlights on each of them. And if we triple click, we engage our strobe on each light. So side switches, the functionality is going to be identical. And then on our tail switch, full push, you're going to engage your turbo. And on a half push, you're going to get your medium mode on your half push. So, and also same magnetic charging, same battery on each of these lights. You have your classic, where's my Olight charger here? You got your classic tail light charging, your magnetic tail switch. Charge both these lights, and it will pop up when you plug it in. Green, red, it's charging. Green, it's charged. A lot of people wish this lights had the USB-C charger, which I think would be nice. But the magnetic charging I think is really easy to use as well, and I've never had an issue with it. And it's nice not not having to take the battery out to charge or anything like that. But from a functionality standpoint, again, going to be very, very similar. And sticking with the similarities, the runtime is going to be identical on all the modes. The only real difference is you're going to get 2,500 lumens of max output on the Ultra versus 2,300 lumens of max output on the 3S. And you do get 320 meters of throw on the Ultra and 300 meters of throw on the 3S. So 20 meters difference. And I will say, like, using this in the backyard, which I'll demonstrate here shortly, I really can't tell much of a difference at all on the output or the throw distance on either light. I mean, they're both super impressive to me, but I can't really tell the difference as far as the output and throw go. So we'll see here again, like size, nearly identical size all around. Size looks the same. The weight on the Ultra, I think it's about 3 grams more, so it's slightly more heavy. You can't tell it all in the hand, but again, everything looking really similar here on both of these lights. So let's go ahead and hit on some of the differences that make the Warrior Ultra the more premium feeling light versus the Warrior 3S here. So we'll see here, looking at the side switches, you'll see you get a nice metal side switch on the Warrior Ultra here. It is easier to hit. You're pulling out of your pocket. It's easier to locate on your thumb versus the smaller switch here on the Warrior 3S, and also the indicators I think are a little more clear on the Warrior Ultra 2, which is nice. But this switch in general on the Warrior Ultra just feels a lot nicer compared to the Warrior 3S. And you also notice here, we'll zoom in here, so made of the OAL aluminum, so that's the new aluminum Olight's using. It's supposed to be, I think, over 2 times more durable, and it does feel like it does have a much more premium feeling in the hand. Can't speak a ton of the durability. I did drop this off a ladder a couple days ago. You'll see right there, got a nice scuff up there up top, but that kind of leads me to one of the other differences here. We put these up next to each other. You'll see the bezel here. You get a lot more of an aggressive, thick protection on the bezel here on the Warrior Ultra. Kind of it's raised quite a bit more there, and I think that did do a good job protecting the bezel on that unfortunate drop I had. So far Warrior Ultra is holding up great, but the big thing when you pick these two up side by side, you're drawn to kind of how this Warrior Ultra feels in the hand. The knurling on it is really, really nice. It feels really good. It's more grippy in the hand. If you're ever, I'm in Florida, so a lot of humidity, moisture in the air. This knurling on this feels really, really nice. Grips in the hand really nicely, whereas the original 3S has more of like a smooth feeling where it can be a little more slippery, whereas I just don't get that at all on the Warrior Ultra. So a lot, just like a more of a premium feel, just even in the hand on the Warrior Ultra. So let's go ahead and get both these Warriors outside in the dark so you can kind of see how the beams look side by side and kind of how similar they are, maybe where a couple little differences are between the two. So go ahead, I'm going to turn both lights on in the low setting here. So they're both in the low setting. And just so you kind of see how similar the beam pattern is, and the kind of the lumen output. You really can't even tell which is which here. Like this is the low setting here. I'll go ahead and click down. So that's the medium setting. We'll go into our high setting. So that's a high setting on both these lights, and you really can't even tell which one's which. So the Ultra is actually my right hand here. So this is the Ultra on the right side and the Warrior 3S on my left side. But as you'll see, again, these lights so incredibly similar. The beam pattern, very, very similar. I'm going to drop this back down to our low setting here. And one of the biggest differences of these two lights, and really I think one of the things that makes the Ultra really worth, kind of the premium price, whatever you want to, premium light, whatever you want to call it, is you can't tell super clearly on this video out here, unfortunately, but the light on the Ultra, like the actual light, it's just a much cleaner white, like a more natural looking white light. Whereas on the Warrior 3S here on our left side, you get more of that yellowish greenish tint. And if I put them here, you can kind of tell on the Ultra here on the right, it's just a nicer looking white light. And again, we get on this left side on the Warrior 3S, you just get that greenish yellowish tint. I mean, it's not like a deal breaker. I don't think the light is terrible because of that, but when you put it right next to the Ultra, especially again in person, I'm not sure how well the camera's really picking it up, but it is a noticeable difference in person. And looking at both of the beams, the Ultra just looks a lot nicer, more natural, a neutral look to the actual light on the beam. But so again, we'll go ahead and cycle through low, medium, high. We'll go back. So here's our high setting on each of them. And again, I think you can kind of see how the Ultra is a little bit more of a cleaner white looking light. We'll go ahead and double click for our turbo on each of them. Again, you'll see, output nearly identical. Beam throw distance almost identical. And the beam pattern is identical. So really, again, like the Ultra has a little bit more of an output, 2500 versus 2300, but it doesn't really show up much when I'm just using these, side by side in the yard here. It's really kind of hard to tell which one's actually putting out, more light. All right, so just one little, kind of a little further distance angle, just to kind of compare both these beams here. We'll start with the Ultra first. You'll notice kind of in the middle of the screen, there'll be a vinyl white fence that's going to meet a brick wall. It's right about 45 yards down range here. We'll start with the Ultra. We'll go right to our high setting here. Actually, you know what? We'll just do the turbo. Let's jump right to the turbo. So you'll see right down there in the middle of the camera there where the white fence meets that brick wall, right about 45 yards down range. We'll kind of see a little turbo output here, light up our shed over there, and see some of that tree line. And again, this is with the Ultra. We'll go down this brick wall. Let's get a good feel for how that beam looks and how the max lumens and throw looks down range there. Now we will switch over to our 3S, getting turbo. Get it right back down there as well. And you'll see, again, very similar. We get up in that tree line, back down. That's the brick wall there. Really hard to tell the difference between these two out in the yard here when they're going back to back like this. I'll go ahead and get them on at the same time. So there's our Ultra on the right and our 3S on the left. Up in the tree line a little bit there. Down there again. really get a good kind of idea how both how these beams kind of, light up a decent little nice, mid-range area here. All right, we are back in the garage now, having just seen how both these lights kind of perform in the dark. So to bring it all home though, if you own the Warrior the Warrior 3S now, is it worth upgrading to the Warrior Ultra? Again, so it's a $140 light versus, this is already a $120 light. Is it worth upgrading? If you have, a specific use in mind, to have two of these, I think it could be worth it. Like I said, if you're getting one like me, well, I'm just gonna leave this one in my truck and I can use this kind of more around the house, around the property. I think it's nice just being able to have one, in the car, so it's always with me if I need it. But if you really think, one is enough, suffices for all the needs, I don't really think it's worth upgrading to the Ultra in that regard. Like if you're just going to be having two of these laying around your house, I don't really think there's enough differences, enough upgrades to kind of justify spending $140 on a light that really is, nearly identical. It's kind of like think of the Ultra as kind of like a model, a little refresh. It's not a full redesign. It's kind of a refresh, but it's still $140. So I probably would say no. If you have the Warrior 3S, I don't think you have to run out and buy, the Warrior Ultra. Again, unless you have, a kind of a use to have, two of them somewhere. And if you're shopping both of these lights, if you don't have either and you want to buy one, this one to me is a little bit easier. I think it's a no-brainer. 120 for the Warrior 3S versus 140 for the Warrior Ultra. I think it's a no-brainer. Spend the extra $20 and get the Warrior Ultra, because again, the improvements or the upgrades, they're kind of subtle and they're kind of small, but it just as a full package, it just makes the light feel quite a bit more premium. So in that regard, no-brainer. Again, I would pay the $20 just to have the the tint on the beam just on the Warrior Ultra. That alone's worth it to me. But again, you're getting this upgraded aluminum, the better knurling, the much better, in my opinion, side switch that again feels a lot nicer on the side switch, and then you do get a little bit more protection at the top of your bezel. So again, for those upgrades, I do think it's kind of like a no-brainer. I don't know why you would spend. I mean, really, I feel like the Warrior 3S should be on sale below $100 now to make it even worth consideration versus spending maybe $80 on the Warrior Ultra versus $140. Then maybe you got a little more to think about. But as it stands price-wise, $120 versus $140. Get the Ultra all day. Like for sure, get the Warrior Ultra. Those upgrades, subtle upgrades, but the whole package. It's just like having a nice refreshed, upgraded Warrior light. I do kind of wish they would have added maybe something like just made this Warrior Ultra really stand out as like a big upgrade from the 3S. And I think one thing they could have done would have been to add that USB-C charging. I purchased the Baton Ultra about a month or so ago, and they integrated this USB-C charging on this light. So you can actually finally have a USB-C charging on an Olight here. I love how they integrated this, by the way. But I think if they would have done something like this on the Warrior Ultra, would have been cool. Like, do something like kind of like a drastic upgrade to it. I think that would have been really cool. So like if they would have done, add that USB-C charging, it'd been like, man, this is like 100% worth it. Even because that way, even if you had the Warrior 3S, I think in that case it would be a no-brainer that it would be worth upgrading to the Warrior Ultra. So, but we'll see. Maybe they have different plans here in the pipeline. And I will go ahead and post a link in the description to purchase both these lights. So if you're interested in getting either one of these lights, I'll have those links in my description. And as always, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel a ton. Maybe let me know which light you like more, if you think it's worth the upgrade or not. And as always, be on the lookout for more reviews from the Review Garage.